So we're asking ourselves really as we're laying down how we are, aren't we? We're checking in all sorts of things as we're resting into the floor, checking in on the physical body. What is it registering with us today? There's a book that I really need to read, but the title of it intrigued me, and it's called The Body Keeps Score. As we know through these practices that the body basically is a map of the life that you've had. The body has found the most optimal way for it to be, for it to inhabit the world. And we all know that that might not be the most comfortable way of being. So we've got to picked up aches and pains and niggles and have that chronic neck tension, or in my case, hip that just never seems to be any stronger. It's just because the body's learned to be and to move in a particular way. So this first opportunity is just checking in and seeing how it is in this present moment. Beginning to notice if there's any tension that we don't need. Have we got any twitches in the fingers? The eyes kind of twitching. If we just settle with our rhythm of the breath and start to quieten these movements that might be distracting. So beginning my journey of sensation, sensing how we are resting the head into the floor or the cushion. And checking in on what is heavy on the floor behind the spine. If we're laying on our side, noticing the ribs. If we're laying on our back, again, noticing how the shoulders and the ribs connecting. And following the contours of the body all the way down to the pelvis, and just notice again how the pelvis meets the floor. Just noticing what feels heavy into the floor. And then begin to tune into our energy body. We can feel the energy in the grossest sense as the breath, maybe as it comes into the body. How do we feel and register the breath? Is the breath shallow? Is the breath deep? But energy is something else entirely. If you think about it within yoga, it can be a mood. So how do you sense the mood of yourself at this present time? Do we feel agitated? Do we feel happy? Do we feel anxious? It might be that you've never actually put a name to the mood that you had today. It's just maybe a sense of just how you naturally are. But could you give a name to the mood that you're in? And if you expand that out then just to the energy levels of the body, how would you sense that your energy levels are? You could picture yourself like a little battery. Would you say that you're full, halfway, nearly depleted, or somewhere in that range? And the mood can affect the energy. So I know sometimes when you're in the best mood ever and you feel like you could run around and climb every single wall, but then there's some times when you just feel so agitated and you just feel like you can just barely crawl yourself around the room. So moods really do affect the energy of the body and vice versa. So if you are able to lay on your back, we're going to walk feet in towards our hips and have our hands down by our side. But if it's better to sit, we're going to take a comfortable seating position. So I'm going to demonstrate this pose in both places. So I'm going to just demonstrate it sitting to start with, but if you're laying on the back, we're just going to focus, whichever position we're in, on our sit bones. So if you just picture the crease of your buttocks and the bone just above it, at the very, very base of your spine, that is your sit bone, and the position of it. So if you're laying on the floor, we're going to try to roll and lean it into the floor and allow the spine to arch. And if you're sitting, it's like you're trying to push it away from you towards the back of the mat, and as you do that, you're going to feel your spine arch as well. And then your sit bone, again, in fact, actually not your sit bone, it's your lower back. If you're laying on the floor, press it into the floor, and if you are sitting, again, it's your sit bone I want you to focus on, tucking it under the body and feeling how your spine rounds. So again, as you inhale, if you're laying down, rolling and leaning your sit bone into the floor, but if you're sitting, you're pushing your sit bone away towards the back of the mat. And if you're lying down, again, just gently pressing the lower back into the floor, and if you're sitting, you're tucking that tailbone under the body. Again, just following the movement of the tailbone and the sit bone. And just letting your spine do that little dance above it. So in each case, you're going to feel your ribs pushing forwards, and then your ribs pushing softly into the floor or backwards. As your spine dances like a little snake. From the tailbone, sensing the movement behind the belly button. As the spine arches and those muscles, the back contract to push the ribs forwards. And as you tuck the tailbone, the sit bone underneath you or towards that ceiling, the back flattens, you feel those back muscles lengthening. You're just sensing now what the muscles are doing, contracting of the back and then lengthening of the back. Just sense and spend some time here. So as we push the sit bone towards the floor or to that space behind, those back muscles tighten. And as we flatten the back, those back muscles lengthen. We can exaggerate that motion, but we're not going to do that just yet. We're just going to follow that journey up to the ribs and up into the neck. Do you feel that your head is doing a little dance on top of the spine? So your chin is nodding and pushing away from you. So again, we've got that little action of the chin. So let's spend a little time in the front of the body, shall we? So as you're leaning your tailbone into the floor or pushing that tailbone behind, depending which movement you're doing, do you feel then we've lengthened the front of the body from the pubic bone to the collarbones? And as we flatten the back, so bringing that tailbone, the lower back into the floor or tucking that tailbone underneath us, do we feel that we've shortened the front of the body, those ribs have crept close to the pelvis? And we are letting go of that action as the back tightens, the front of the body opens. And as the back body lengthens, the front of the body shortens. So just spend that time with the sensation through the front of the body. So just pause and centre for a second. And we're going to exaggerate those sensations just for a moment. So just picturing the back of the body, from the back of the neck through the shoulders all the way down to the sit bones and the tailbone at the back. And just picture that you have the ability just to contract those muscles on their own. So starting to feel those muscles begin to tighten, leaning the tailbone into the floor or pushing it gently away from behind you. Feeling how those muscles are tightened. We're just going to pause here for a second and feel them. And if you could hug them in a little bit more. So if you're laying on the floor, you're going to draw the shoulder blades down the back. And if you're sitting, again, drawing those shoulder blades down towards the hips. So I feel like Superman when I do this, like I'm bursting out of my top. Slowly begin to relax those muscles and just allow yourself just to come to neutral. And then we're going to do that again. So again, bringing the tailbone into the floor or leaning it behind us, feeling that we have that ability just to tighten those muscles at the back. Feeling how the chest opens, the shoulders drop back, and then squeeze those shoulders down towards the back hips and in towards the spine. And then again, slowly relax, let go. And then we're going to just do that one more time. But rather than just letting go, bring the lower back into the floor or tuck the tailbone underneath and go into that lovely rounded position, pressing the lower back into the floor or dropping the chin forwards if you're sitting. And then again, inhaling, tightening those muscles at the back, draw the shoulder blades down, squeeze the shoulders down towards the spine, feel those muscles tighten. Notice how the chin, if you're sitting, your chin's going to lift, if you're laying down, the chin's going to tuck in. And then slowly press the lower back into the floor. Again, feel those muscles of tummy tighten. If you're laying on the floor, just notice how the shoulders have picked themselves up and the chin has lifted. And again, just repeating that again. So if you're sitting, tighten those muscles, the back, let the heart come forward, so let the chin lift. If you're laying down, again, the chin's tucked in. And then exhale, slowly bring the lower back into the floor. Feel the shoulders round and lift and the chin tilt. And again, if you're sitting, let the head fall forward. And then just allow yourself to settle in center. And breathe. And just notice how it is to breathe. So let's take ourselves into a seat position. So slowly bringing yourself up, and we're going to have our hands on the floor behind us. I think I've made my room even worse. I'm just going to turn these lights out behind me. That makes it any brighter at the front. Yeah, it has. There you go. I've got too many lights on. It's made the room even darker. Oopsie daisy. So what we're doing? Yeah. So you've got your knees bent. You've got your hands on the floor behind you, and just resting your hands, into the floor. And I'd like you to tune into your breath for a second. So it's all about knowing what your ribs are doing as you breathe in. So when you breathe, your ribs, you've got the bones of the ribs, and then you've got cartilage between and the muscle, muscle called the intercostals, and they widen to accommodate the ribs, and then they contract to accommodate the lungs, I should say. So as you're breathing in, your ribs are moving, and then as you're breathing out, the ribs are moving. So just going to really focus on that sensation. So you've got your hands on the floor behind you. Just allow yourself to sag. So I know that you're sitting on a chair there. So if you could maybe even do that on the sofa or something like that. You need to have that space for your hands to drop into the floor behind, into something behind you so you can lean into it. Allow yourself to sag into it. So in sagging, your shoulders should be sliding across your ribs and kind of rolling forwards a little bit. And you can feel like a bit of an S shape in your spine. S shape, a C shape in your spine. And what I want you to do now is take a really slow deep inhale. And a slow exhale. And a slow inhale. And a slow exhale. And do you feel what your ribs are doing? Do you feel your lungs are doing something beneath your ribs? If you were just to push very lightly into your hands as you inhale, you could lift your heart a little bit. And then as you exhale, just allow again yourself to softly sink back into that space behind. And again, inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling, exhaling. Just start to let your breath guide you into this. Just as very light as it pushes into the hands. And then just pause in the centre, and it might be that you might want to just try exploring that breath the other way. So inhaling, allow yourself to sink back. And exhaling, that gentle push, let your heart lift. Feel your shoulders dropping down your back. Inhaling. Exhaling, pushing gently into your hands, allow yourself to lift. Inhale. Exhale. Start to feel like a tortoise. So your shoulders and your ribs are like a little tortoise shell, and as you push gently into your hand, feel your neck lengthening up from between the shell. I don't know what this is called, but you should be called a tortoise. So let's just walk ourselves to centre for a second, walking your sit bones underneath you. And this is more of a posture break for your hands, I would say. I seem to never learn who is wear dark clothing when I teach these lessons, and I wonder why no one can see me. I'm going to move my light. I'm really sorry, I feel like I'm in the darkest room in the entire universe. Right. So what I'd like you now to do, whilst I faff with my lights, and you're going to get this on the recording, haha, is I'd like you to bring your hands forwards into the space between your legs. There you go, that might be a bit brighter. There, woohoo, you can see me. So we're going to go into a really gentle kind of forward fold. So if you're sitting on a chair, you're going to have your hands on your thighs, you're going to walk them down towards your feet. If you're sitting on the floor, just walk your hands gently forward, feeling your pelvis tilting behind you, just have your hands resting on the floor. And just take a few breaths, feeling really what your pelvis is doing, noticing your natural reach. It might be that you can take your hands all the way forwards. So if you're happy to take your hands all the way forwards, going into more of a yoga movement, take those hands as far forward as you want to. And then bringing those hands back in towards your thighs. That's just like a bit of a telltale about what hopefully we're going to do with our range of movement. So again, resting the hands back into the floor behind you as you did, or resting into the chair as you did before. And again, take whichever breath you found the most useful, I would say. So if you like to breathe in and sag and breathe out and gently push, do that. But if you like to breathe in and lift and breathe out and sag, that's up to you. So just come back to that same little rhythm that we did earlier. And we're going to start to focus not just on the ribs this time, but on the pelvis. So do you feel your pelvis attempting to lay down behind you as you sag? And as you push into the hands, do you feel yourself moving towards your sit bones? Again, as you sag, feel your pelvis trying to lay down and your lower back is lengthening and relaxing. And as you gently push into your hands, again, do you feel that those muscles at the back are just tightening and your spine is just trying to lift and sit up? So just tuning into the movement of the pelvis, feeling the weight going towards the sit bones. And then just resting into your hands just for a second. And we're going to take this into a bit of a twist now. So beginning to bend your left elbow, notice how that you can turn the chest a little bit to the left and just look gently to the left with your eyes, with your face, and then bend straighten your left elbow. And notice how you turn back to front of that, and then just do that again. So again, bending your left elbow, and just notice how you turn a little bit to the left, and look with your eyes, look with your nose, look with your head, and again straighten up. Do it again a few times, feeling how from that left hip to the left armpit there is length appearing. They're actually doing a little bit of a side bend. And notice how your right ribs and your right hip are closer towards each other. So also because we're bending that left elbow, we are turning the chest, we are lengthening the left side, we are shortening the right side. So again, we're not pushing, I don't need to contract, I don't need to push into this at all, but just notice that beautiful little sensation of length from the left heel through the left knee to the left armpit. Moving back to the centre. Look into your right this time. We're going to bend the right elbow again. Notice how the chest turns. And again, just straighten the right elbow, the chest comes back to centre. And again, just take your time, bending the right elbow. Noticing the chest turning. Again, the head, the eyes, the nose. Everything moves. And then tuning into the right side from the hip to the shoulder. Feeling how we got that little side bend. And noticing how, as we bend the right elbow, the left ribs creep closer to the left hip. So move into centre. We're going to just bend the left elbow, turn to the left. Straighten, bend the right elbow, turn to the right. Bending the left, bending the right. If you feel anything in your feet, you might feel one foot pushes forward and then slides back, and then the other foot pushes forward. So feel it also down into the feet. So particularly if you turn into the left, you'll feel your right foot pushing forward. And then as you bend in your right elbow, you feel your left foot pushing forward, just because your pelvis is just invited very gently into it. So let your pelvis become now your focus point. Notice as you turn as you bend your right elbow and you turn to the right, just let your left ribs and left hip move as you go the other way. Yeah, just let your right hip push forward. And then move back to centre. Again, just rest into your hands, and we're just going to then lift up the toes. You can't see my toes, I'm going to move up, so lift up your toes, and then point your toes. And again, as we do this, just again lift up your toes, and then point your toes. Lifting up your toes, and point your toes. And as you do this, coming back to that sensation as we did earlier. So slide into your hands as you pull the toes back, and as you push the toes forward, gently press into the hands. And let your heart lift, and again as you slide into your hands, pull the toes up. And as you push into the hands, push the toes forward. And now just bring your focus down to your feet. Just imagine that your toes are in charge of the rest of the body, pushing the feet forward. We can feel the heart lifting. Pulling the toes back, we can feel the heart sagging. So again, just tap in the toes. And feeling as that movement move all the way up through the body, pushing the toes forwards, pulling the toes back. Let's move back to seated. Just again, little posture break. Walk your sit bones underneath you. Widen out your feet. And let your hands just move into the floor in front of you. So we're just going to start to slowly walk them forwards. And again, sense and feel. Again, it might be you're not going to go very far. It might be that it's like a little magic trick's happened and you can feel that it's just maybe a little bit easier to come forwards. Just notice where the body's moved. Let's move ourselves back to centre. And I'd like to move on to all fours, if you don't mind, for the next movement. So I know that wrists aren't always everybody's best friend when you're on all fours. So we can either fold up a blanket, you might use a cushion and put your hands, I would say put your hands on the edge of the cushion. That is just going to basically, but if you're on all fours, you're creating a really big angle, aren't you, at your wrist? So if you've got any kind of arthritis or anything going on in your wrist, it might not like it. So that cushion would just act as give you the ability to put your hands on the floor, but without creating such a deep angle. So again, it can make those little modifications. You might even go into fists. That's a nice, again, another little modification. Fingertips is another one, but you've got to have, knuckles. I don't mind knuckles. I think knuckles are not as scary as fingertips. So again, it's just that way of finding the comfort. It might be you've got to even turn your hands out a little bit, have a little feel about what's going to be a good place for your hands to be. Similarly with your knees, if hopefully you're on a carpet. If you're not, again, cushions under your knees is always a good thing, just to make that feel a little bit happier. Right, okay, so again, we're going to use our breath to guide ourselves into our cat-cow. So just from this moment, what I do notice about cat-cow or to come onto all fours is that there's a holding. You're actually holding the floor away from you. If you were to not hold the floor away, you come all the way down. So there's actually a bit of a holding of the floor. So the first thing we're going to do is think about arms being like a lift shaft. And this again is just trying to finding the centre. So your arms are like a little lift shaft, and your ribs and your chest and your spine is like that lift going up between the floors. So we're going to keep the arms straight, and all I want you to do is just drop very gently, maybe down a floor or two, your chest. I'm going to just, please excuse the fact that I am taking my top off. I'm going to pull my vest up, so you, not vest, my pants up, so you can't see my belly so much. But I have got a good bra thing on, which so you can see my spine. So yeah, you're dropping your chest down, and you feel your shoulders kind of just ping up a tiny little bit behind you, and then push the floor away. So it's like you're going all the way up to the top floor and let your head fall forward. And just do that a few times. So you're going to keep your arms straight and just let your chest drop a little tiny bit. And then again, pushing down, and just feel how you find the floor. So this is when you get that sense that you are holding yourself away from the floor. And then find somewhere that feels like centre, somewhere where it feels like you're not too rounded, you're not too sagged. And then just gently shake your hips, and that is going to again bring you to that central place. And from this place, we're going to just start to slowly breathe. So just close your eyes and breathing in and out through the nose. Do you feel what your ribs and your lungs are doing? So do you feel that as you're breathing out, those ribs are expanding and your intercostals are widening, and you can start to feel your spine behind your shoulders just kind of arching a little bit. And as you breathe out, the intercostals between the ribs are closing together, the lungs are getting smaller, and you can feel your heart beginning to drop. And from here you can begin to feel your way into a really natural cat-cow position. So if you were to open your eyes and just keep your eyes still, do you feel yourself begin to look down as you breathe in? And as you breathe out, again keeping your eyes still and your head still, do you notice that you're beginning to look up? And so with the cat-cow, the cat is what is the movement as you're looking down towards your knees. So it's a gentle press into your hands, look all the way back towards your knees. Notice that your tailbone drops. And we've opened again that back of the body. We have lengthened here. And again, as we exhale, again, just notice how you start to look. You can look forwards. Chin begins to lift, tailbone begins to lift. I notice that it's some of us have little rest, and that's always good. Just have that little rest if you need to. In fact, what a good opportunity. Let's bring our bottom down towards our heels. Have the knees nice and wide so you've got that space for tummies. And take and stack your hands, make two little fists, and drop your head down onto the hands. If that's a little bit too low, we can again maybe have the elbows bent and the hands resting on the forehead again, just so we can have that head supported if that needs to be done. So let's move back up onto all fours again. So again, taking your time just to bring the body up. And we're going to add in a little bit of a stir with the hips this time. So again, supporting the shoulders over the hands in whichever way we need to. And what I'd like you now to do is, from this position, bend your right elbow. You're going to turn your chest a little bit towards your left arm. Bring then your hips back towards your heels. Straighten both arms. And then bend your left elbow. And then come back up onto all fours. Straighten your left elbow. So bringing your hips back, bend your right elbow, taking your bottom down towards your heels. Bending your left elbow, chest faces the floor. Straighten your right elbow, come up onto all fours. Straighten your left elbow. Bend your right elbow, chest turn, straight, bringing your bottom softly back. Bending your left elbow. Straighten your right elbow, come back up. Straighten your left elbow. So you've got a little circle going on. Can we begin to make this just feel fluid? And just noticing little things. So we've got the chest turning. Let your head turn in the direction of the chest. And then taking your awareness into your pelvis. Do you feel your pelvis is doing something really beautiful? Do you feel your thigh bones are doing a little circle in your hip joints? Just pause in centre for a second. And we're going to go in the opposite direction. So from all fours, bending your left elbow, let your chest turn to the right. Drop your bottom back. Bend your right elbow. Straighten your left elbow and come up to all fours. Straighten your right elbow. Bend your left elbow and sink your bottom back to your heel. Bend your right elbow. Straighten your left elbow and come back to all fours. Straighten your right elbow. And again, starting again, just to feel just a gentle wave of movement through the elbows. Letting your head turn in the direction of the chest. So as you bend your left elbow and you turn to the right, you turn your head to the right. Sink your bottom back. As you drop the right elbow, you look into the floor. As you straighten your left elbow, your chest turns to the left and your head turns to the left. And you come back up. A little mild twisting of the spine. And again, taking your focus into your pelvis. Your pelvis is doing a little circle. And then into your thigh bones. Do you feel your thighs are circling in the hip socket? So you've got a beautiful stirring again of the hips. And then let's just take ourselves back into our child's pose and just check how that feels as a movement. Does it feel easier? Have we got that capacity just to settle and nestle into our hips a little bit more? And again, supporting your head on fists, or maybe have your elbows bent with your head on your hands. And again, just breathing again gently into those ribs and shoulders. Shall we have a little lie down? I know one of our people are already lying down, so I'll have a little lie down again, just a little bit of a posture break. We're going to come back up onto hands and knees again in a second. I don't want to tear you while you're putting feet where you're at. So again, have a little lie down. Have your time to put that top on again. You've seen that fine enough, haven't you? So again, checking in on how you are resting into the floor. How does it feel? So moving yourself over onto your side again and to seated. And sounds really weird, but I'm scared of teaching this to you. I would like to teach a pigeon pose to you, for you to do. So there's a couple of pigeons actually. Let's see how we get on with pigeon number one, shall we? So with this one, it's about kind of rolling into it, and you don't have to go into full pigeon. It's about finding comfort in your own knees and your own hips. You know, you've always got to listen to your hips and in your body. And I know this is not like a full-on yoga class, but I think there's a tendency to think that you have to look like the shape that was initially put in the books, you know, but that's not always a shape that's helpful to you. We've all got different hips. You know, the pelvis, everybody's pelvis, I think, are different. The position of your socket in your, you know, is going to make a big difference to how your pigeon looks. So you've got your thigh bone, you've got the femur head, because the angle of that can make such a big difference in how your pigeon will look and feel. And also the length of the neck again is going to give you a different range of movement. So I want you to sense and feel and don't force. So again, we start to go forwards, but this is just so we can bring the knee forward. So I'm going to start with my left knee just because it's close to the camera. But you can pick your other knee if you want to. So I'm going to swing it back a little bit and then bring it forwards. So that knee is close to my wrist. Oh, and I will take that top off just because again, it's not about, again, look at me, it's about more like, you can see what's going on, but that top is getting in the way. So the knee is close to the wrist. And then, and then from here, take your the foot, bring it in front of the opposite thigh, and you know, and see how that feels. And then I want you to sit back onto so this is my left knee. I'm going to sit back onto my left buttock, and just kind of roll to one side. And my right knee, I'm going to turn the other way, so you can see. There you go. I'm doing right leg now. So there you go. So this is, I've got one foot there, one foot there. So I've got my hands in front of me. And just again, you're going to just tune into the breath. So as you take an inhale, just allow yourself just to roll sit onto the spine. And as you exhale, gently bringing yourself onto onto the front of the body. And again, as you inhale, rolling back onto the thigh. And as you exhale, rolling onto that front shin, so moving towards your pigeon. Inhale, rolling gently back. And again, exhale, moving towards your pigeon. And not asking you to push, really, just sense and feel yourself rolling through the bones. And as you take your inhale and you're rolling back onto the side of the body, feel how your lower back rounds, and you could even look down towards your knee. And then as you exhale and roll forwards onto your pelvis, just start to look forwards and let your heart come forward. And again, inhale, roll back, look down towards your knee. And exhaling, rolling onto your pelvis, look forward. And it might be you thinking, this is horrible, you might just want to lay on your back, and I've got another little version of this, or you could always swap knees if you want to swap knees. Or it might just be that you're just going to move out of it and just move into just the very beginning of it. You know, don't go on to the full don't go into the full pose, just kind of roll into it a little bit. So again, you don't have to go into the full movement, it just might be you explore just the edges of the movement. But if you're in that full movement and you're happy in that full movement, and your hands are on the floor, I just want you to bring your focus to the big toe that's lengthened out behind you. And as you take an inhale, press down into the big toe that's on the floor behind you and look down towards the knee, so you can feel the tummy tighten and your pelvis lift. And then as you exhale, relax the hips, relax the belly, and again, allow yourself to look forward. And again, as you inhale, pushing down into the feet, to look down, feel how the pelvis lifts, that knee is pushing into the floor behind you. And as you exhale again, settle down, look forward. And then let's roll out of this. And again, onto your back if you need to, or if you can take a seat, that might be preferable. So I've got two people that are laying down. So I know that again in this lesson, not everybody can lie down. So if you would like just to practice that pose again, sitting on your front, and you want to that would be great. But for people lying down, I've got another alternative. So the people that have decided that's not for their knees, the alternative for that pose is to take that first knee that was in front of you and have it on the opposite knee. So I've got my left knee bent, I've got the right foot on my left knee. And again, so like I said, this if you can't lie down, that other one is a lovely little alternative. And what we're going to do now is, so this is my right thigh. I've got my hands on the right thigh, and I'm pressing on into the thigh with my hands. So it's like I'm trying to push the knee away. But at the same time, I'm going to try to bring the right knee towards me. So like I'm trying to pull the knee towards the belly, but the hands are resisting. So you're trying to create a battle with the leg. Feel the battle, and then slowly relax the hip and push the leg away with the hand. So as you inhale, you're trying to bring the knee towards the body, but the hand is resisting. The leg doesn't actually go anywhere. Feel it through the buttock and the front of the thigh. And then as you exhale, slowly relax the leg and push the leg away with the hand. Do that a few times. And then bring the knee in towards the body. Just give yourself a little hovering into the pigeon that you would recognize on the floor. So from this space, untangling the legs, and again rest yourself into Shavasana if that is where you can be. And again, if you can't go into Shavasana, just move into a sitting position. And again, just sense and feel how the body is. feeling through the side of the body, just been practicing how that changes, whether or not we can feel maybe more weight through the limbs into the floor, more support through the floor. So let's move to the opposite side, shall we now? So again, I'm going to demonstrate the first pigeon. So if you want to try the first pigeon, we're going to go for the first pigeon. And if you're going to do it on your back, so again, it might be you explore coming into it from sitting, more forwards, and then choose to lie down. But it might be you're going to just rest for a moment, and then we'll go into that second action. So you're going to take the opposite knee forward. So I actually switched knees, didn't I? So this is my left knee this time. And then drop your bottom back, so you're sitting on that thigh. And again, your opposite knee is just bent slightly behind you, feeling no discomfort. Hands come to the floor towards the front of the mat. And again, let your breath be the guide. So as you take an inhale, just pushing gently yourself almost deeper into your buttocks, let your lower back begin to round. And as you exhale, starting to roll across the bones and into your pigeon. Again, inhaling, rolling back onto your pelvis, onto the butt cheek, and again, exhale, rolling into the pigeon. Inhale, exhale. And if you're happy to stay in the pigeon, you stay in the pigeon. But if you're happy to roll in and out, again, you're listening to your knees, you're listening to the joints. Starting to choose what's right for you, but I'm going to just stay in this pigeon for a while. Kind of resting into the floor, and I can feel my right leg is lengthened out behind me. And I'm going to begin to push my right foot into the floor. I feel the butt cheek begin to tense up. Try to push the butt of that foot deeper into the floor. But as I do that, I'm going to look down towards my belly button. I feel my pelvis beginning to lift. I'm actually pushing that left hip down into the floor a bit, like that left knee. As I exhale, I'm slowly feeling those hips relax, and then I'm just looking forwards, just letting my heart come forwards. Inhaling, pushing down into the right foot, feeling that left knee is pushing down, looking down towards the knee. And exhaling, pelvis begins to settle, looking forward. Inhale. Exhale. So then you can interplay with rolling in and coming out and coming into that little pandiculation. But if you're going to lay down, I'm just going to do that opposite side so I can see some of you are already doing it, but I don't want you to feel that neglecting you. So your left knee is on your right thigh. Your hands are on your left thigh bone. And again, it's like you're trying to bring your left knee in towards your body, but you're going to push that hand into the thigh. And then start to relax the hip and let the hand win the battle. So you're trying to bring that knee into the body, feeling the muscles. It's actually the front of the, it's your hip flexors, your adductors, or trying to bring that leg closer, and then you start to relax, but then push. Again, just try one more time. And then whenever you're ready, bringing the knee in, the right knee in, moving into your pigeon pose. So you're just bringing the hands maybe to the right knee and soften. So again, we've got two different versions. It's very difficult to teach. I can see all sorts of things going on. So from this place, beginning to settle into the floor in the best way that you can. So if you are able to lay down, just again let your thighs soften into the floor, let your hands relax down by your side. And sense and feel your pelvis. And just notice how it sits into the floor. How does it settle? Sensing and feeling your lower back. How does it settle? So let's all move over onto a comfortable side of the body. So I've completely forgotten again. It's your left side, obviously, if you're pregnant, and it could be whatever side you like if you're not pregnant, your most comfortable side. Supporting your head if you need to. Your knees are going to be bent. So it's like we did this a few weeks ago. It's the embryonic breathing, isn't it? So you've got your knees stacked, your feet stacked, and you've just got your hands in front of you. And maybe your top hand. So this is my left hand. I've just got it resting on my belly. And I'm just feeling the breath in my belly. Feeling my belly coming forwards and feeling the belly sinking back. Place a hand on your lower back now. And as you take a deep breath, do you feel movement in your lower back? As you're breathing in, a gentle lengthening. A dropping of the tailbone away towards the heels, and as you breathe out, again a slight arching of the back. Placing your hands together in front of you, just maybe interlace the fingers, have them somewhere comfortable. And then bring your focus down to your feet. So just have your feet stacked with the toes resting, the big toes resting together. And just from this place, just imagine you've got a little wall, a little ledge at the bottom of the mat, and you're just going to push into it with your feet. Push down slightly and feel how that push migrates elsewhere. And just relax the feet. So again, it's a little push with the feet. And again, just relax the feet. Do you feel that there's almost, even though there's nothing to push upon, there's a movement up the body. So as you push into the feet, you can feel maybe your tailbone shift gently away. And as you relax the feet, the tailbone settles. And again, as you push gently away with the feet, sit bones move back. And again, as you relax, the tailbone settles. And again, just pushing down gently with the feet, and again, exhaling, settling down. Just feel as you push gently into the feet and the tailbone shifts back, but the spine is just gently pushing up through you. Just let your breath become your own. That's right, it almost feels like the whole body is breathing. Like your whole body is a lung. Now there's very little effort now needed through the feet. You can even relax the feet and just let the breath move the body. And if it's comfortable to do so, roll onto your back, but if you're happy to stay where you are, stay exactly where you are. And just again, feel how the body rests into the floor. Rest in all the places the body finds support into the floor. Noticing again the lack of effort that is needed for the body to rest into the floor. Again, using the body as a huge sensor. Again, the body keeps score. In our practice today, do we feel that score has changed? Noticing how the energy levels of the body, the mood of the body. Does it have a name? Noticing the energy levels of the body. And noticing the breath of the body. How does it feel? So whenever you're ready, we're just going to begin to find our way towards seated. So using your hands as well as you can. Thank you so much for this morning.